The case of 6 Vietnamese people found dead in a hotel room in Bangkok has attracted international attention. The group consisted of 7 tourists, but 6 died. So who is this mysterious 7th person? And how are they connected to the incident? Notably, police found suspicious evidence, such as an untouched food tray, but also 2 strange water bottles that did not belong to the hotel. What was the purpose of this group's trip to Thailand? What was their relationship with each other? And were any outsiders involved in the case? Could this locked room murder case be linked to a transnational criminal organization or even a mysterious cult? Join us in uncovering the case of 6 Vietnamese people found dead in a locked room in Thailand, filled with countless mysteries and highly sophisticated schemes. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever we post a new video. This is a poisoning case in a locked room that occurred at the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel in the Ratchaprasong area, Bangkok, Thailand, in July 2024, shocking the world. Around 5:30 p.m. on July 16, police received an emergency call from an employee of a luxury hotel in downtown Bangkok. The staff reported that a group of tourists, primarily Vietnamese, had been found dead in a locked room on the 5th floor of the hotel. The group consisted of 7 people who had booked 5 rooms, spread across the 5th and 7th floors of the hotel. Specifically, 3 rooms on the 7th floor were checked into on July 13, while the other 2 rooms on the 5th floor were occupied starting July 14. These guests showed no unusual behavior during their stay and had no conflicts or incidents. However, after the checkout period for the 4 rooms on the 7th floor ended on the afternoon of July 15, the group packed their belongings and gathered in a room on the 5th floor to continue socializing. According to the receptionist, the group failed to check out on time, and this delay extended for more than 24 hours without any explanation. Concerned about the unusual situation, a housekeeping staff member was sent to check the room on the afternoon of July 16. Upon opening the door, they were horrified to discover that all 6 group members in the room had died. These were the same guests who had gathered in the 5th floor room earlier, while the whereabouts of the 7th person were unknown at the time of inspection. Police later investigated and determined that the entire group had been dead for approximately 24 hours before they were discovered. At the scene, nearly all items in the room appeared undisturbed. Notably, the food ordered from room service remained untouched on the table, with some dishes still wrapped in plastic film. Additionally, on another table, there were 2 teapots and 6 partially consumed teacups, along with traces of coffee. This detail suggests that the group of tourists may have shared tea or coffee together before the incident occurred. According to the police report, among the victims were 2 Vietnamese Americans, Mr. Dang Hung Van, 56, and Mrs. Chong Shireen, 56. The remaining 4 victims were Vietnamese citizens, Mrs. Nguyen Thai, Phuong Lan, 47, Mr. Tran Dinh Phu, 37, and Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong, 46, Mr. Pham Hong Than, 49. Notably, Mr. Pham Hong Than and Mrs. Nguyen Chi Phuong were husband and wife. The horrifying murder case that left 6 dead at a prestigious hotel in the Ratchaprasong area has become a global focal point due to its mysterious circumstances. The cause of the incident remains a major question mark, prompting ongoing speculation from the public. Could this be the result of a fierce business rivalry, where parties stopped at nothing to exact revenge on one another? Or could it have been a meticulously planned act of personal retaliation linked to a transnational criminal organization? Even more chillingly, some suggest that the case may involve a mysterious cult and bizarre rituals. These vague details and unverified rumors only add to the intrigue and haunting nature of the case. The gruesome scene at the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel has left many wondering what exactly happened in that room. A series of questions and mysteries surrounding the incident has left the global public in shock. According to information from the police, the group originally consisted of 7 people, but only 5 checked in, and the number of victims was 6. This unusual discrepancy has drawn significant attention to the identity of this 7th individual. Does the 7th person truly exist, or is there an unexplainable mystery fueling public curiosity even further? To clarify suspicions about the 7th person accompanying the 6 victims, Thai police decided to review the hotel check-in records and immigration checkpoints. Many netizens have also expressed doubts about the 7th individual and questioned why this person was unaccounted for when the case occurred. In addition to the mystery surrounding the 7th person, the relationships among the 6 victims have also drawn significant attention. Unfortunately, the hotel staff were not fully aware of the entire situation, forcing investigators to review the room's entry and exit times from CCTV footage. Questions surrounding the case of 6 Vietnamese people found dead in a locked hotel room in Bangkok include whether they were friends or business partners and the purpose of their trip to Thailand. To determine this, investigators need to check if there was a tour guide connected to this group. What was their schedule on July 14? Who brought them to the hotel? Did they rent a car to drive themselves, or did they use Grab? All of these questions need to be answered to clarify their purpose for traveling to Thailand and whether it involved the mysterious 7th person. Meanwhile, the backgrounds and professions of the 6 victims remain unclear, complicating the police investigation. Aside from the married couple, the relationships between the remaining victims have yet to be clarified. Some believe the victims were longtime friends, while others suggest they were merely business associates. Amid this uncertainty, netizens in Vietnam quickly identified one victim, Tran Dinh Phu, as a renowned makeup artist in the entertainment industry, known professionally as Phu Gia Gia. Tran Dinh Phu was a makeup artist for many famous Vietnamese celebrities, including beauty queens, models, actors, and singers. Upon hearing that Tran Dinh Phu was among the 6 victims in the hotel case in Thailand, many Vietnamese celebrities expressed their condolences on social media. Tran Dinh Phu's mother was in shock upon learning that her son was one of the victims of the murder case in Thailand. According to the victim's family, he had told them he was traveling to Thailand for a 3-day work trip, but did not specify who he was going with. The makeup artist left home on July 12 and was expected to return on the night of July 14. However, on the afternoon of July 14, Tran Dinh Phu called his father to inform him that his work was not finished and that he would delay his return to July 15. After that call, the family was unable to contact him again. His parents affirmed that Tran Dinh Phu was a decent person, deeply passionate about his work, and had no enemies. The fact that a makeup artist was traveling with a group of tourists and later died in a hotel has raised many suspicions from authorities. Furthermore, according to the hotel's information, the group had checked into 3 rooms on July 13, with the other 2 rooms on the 5th floor checked into on July 14. Meanwhile, the group's checkout was scheduled for the afternoon of July 15, meaning they only stayed in Thailand for 3 days. The question now is whether their purpose in coming to Thailand was for tourism, visiting relatives, or meeting to discuss some matter. If it was a 3-day trip for tourism, that is plausible, but if others arrived on July 14 and were to leave on July 15, the reason must be investigated. However, upon closer examination, police discovered a very suspicious detail. Among the victims, some had visited Thailand many times, while others had only been there 2 or 3 times. Mrs. Shireen Chong, a Vietnamese American, had visited Thailand 5 times before, while Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong Lan was a frequent visitor, having been to Thailand 17 times. Mr. Dang Hung Van, a Vietnamese American, entered Thailand for the first time on July 7 from Taipei, Taiwan. Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong had previously been to Thailand 3 times, while her husband, Mr. Pham Hong Van, entered Thailand for the first time. Makeup artist Tran Dinh Phu was also a frequent visitor to Thailand, having traveled there 11 times before. From this clue, Police suspected that this group did not come to Thailand for tourism, since they were already very familiar with the country. They may have come to Thailand to discuss some business matters, however. This remains speculation, as the group's purpose has not yet been clarified. Another mysterious question that has drawn public attention is whether any outsiders were involved in this murder case. Upon examining fingerprints and footprints at the scene, police found no suspicious or unusual traces. Another critical detail is that the door to the room was confirmed to have been locked from the inside, with no signs of forced entry or intrusion. The scene also showed no evidence of struggle, conflict, or theft, and all the victims' luggage remained intact. At this point, the investigation shifted focus to the suspicious evidence found at the scene of the crime. Besides the victims' suitcases, 2 items found in the room stood out: food still wrapped in plastic, untouched, on the table. Additionally, there were 2 suspicious objects: 2 stainless steel water bottles not belonging to the hotel found in the room. The contents of the 2 bottles had not yet been examined by police, so it remains unclear if they contained any suspicious substances. From the scene's condition, it can be inferred that the victims did not touch the food, but did consume the drinks. Evidence shows that each glass bore signs of use, and the water in all 6 glasses had been entirely consumed. At the same time, the discovery of a strange white powder at the scene has sparked much debate. So, was there anything unusual in the drinking glasses? What exactly was the white powder found at the scene? These are questions that many people are curious about. Additionally, the varying locations of where each person was found dead indicate that this case holds countless mysteries. Mrs. Shireen Chong, who checked into room 502, also the room where all the victims were found, was discovered near the dining table. Mrs. Phuong Lan was found on the bed, while Mr. Tran Din Phu was located near Mrs. Lan and Mr. Dang Hung Van, both near the sleeping area. Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong was the only victim found near the doorway, in a position suggesting she was trying to leave the scene to seek help. Mr. Pham Hong Than, the husband of Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong, was found in the bedroom. From this detail, it seems that Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong may have noticed something unusual and attempted to reach the door. However, for some reason, she was unable to open it and died near the doorway. Because the victims were foreign nationals and the incident occurred at a major hotel, Thai police were compelled to focus all resources on investigating the mysterious suspect behind this shocking case. Just one day after the murders were discovered, Thai police identified a witness, Mr. Phan Ngoc Vu, a Vietnamese tour guide. Mr. Phan Ngoc Vu was acquainted with Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong Lan, one of the victims. According to his statement, Mrs. Phuong Lan had asked him to buy snake medicine, worth 11,000 baht as a gift. Police immediately searched the victim's luggage and found the snake medicine in Mrs. Lan's suitcase, which was sent for testing. However, the results from the forensic team left everyone shocked at the cause of death of the 6 victims. The head of Thai police forensics, Mr. Trerong Phuphan, confirmed that cyanide was found in the tea bags that the victims had brewed and consumed. Cyanide is an extremely dangerous toxin that can act in less than 5 minutes after exposure. It is odorless and tasteless, making it difficult for victims to realize they have been poisoned. Upon examining the scene, police found a total of 6 glasses containing cyanide, with 5 on the tea table and 1 on the dining table. Investigation results revealed that the poison had been infused into one of the 3 tea bags that had been brewed prior to the incident. To determine the exact cause of death, forensic doctors conducted tests on blood, urine, and vitreous humor samples from the victims. They also performed CT scans to check for any signs of physical confrontation or other struggles. The results showed that all 6 victims died from asphyxiation, with dark purple lips, unusually dark fingernails, and pale complexions. Screening confirmed the presence of cyanide in the victims' bodies. Once the toxin entered their bodies, It quickly disrupted the oxygen exchange process in the blood, paralyzing red blood cells and leading to death within minutes. The investigation also revealed that the mouths of the poisoned victims often carried a scent of almonds, a characteristic sign of cyanide poisoning. Meanwhile, tests on the snake medicine capsules that Mrs. Nguyen Thai Phuong Lan had asked the tour guide to purchase showed no abnormalities. So, the cause of death is clear, but who was responsible for poisoning these 6 victims? At this point, all attention turned to the 7th individual, who was with the group but had mysteriously disappeared. To uncover the truth, police began gathering evidence and interrogating various hotel staff, drivers, and other potential witnesses. The only person who did not complete the check-in process was Mr. Pham Hong Than. The reason he didn't need to check in was that his wife, Mrs. Nguyen Thai Phuong, had booked the room for both of them. Thus, one mystery was clarified. But who is the 7th person? After reviewing immigration records and CCTV footage, police confirmed that there was indeed a 7th individual traveling with the group. However, the 7th person was identified as the younger sister of one of the 6 victims, who had left Thailand on July 10. After a thorough investigation, police concluded that the 7th person was entirely unrelated to the case and removed them from the list of suspects. With the mystery of the 7th person resolved, the question remains, who poisoned the 6 victims? Police initially determined that this was a mass poisoning case that occurred in a locked room. All current suspicions are focused on the origin of the toxin and the suspect's motive. Security camera footage from the hotel captured the entire sequence of events leading up to the murders. Based on data extracted from July 14 to 15, all the guests checked in by themselves, and there was no evidence of any strangers entering the room during the time frame of the incident. Camera evidence confirmed that, apart from the hotel's room service staff, no one else entered room 502 except for the 6 victims. On July 14, CCTV footage showed that Mrs. Shireen Chong was the only person present in room 502. Later that evening, the other 5 individuals entered room 502 at around 11 p.m., seemingly to discuss something, and left to return to their own rooms around midnight. No suspicious activities were recorded on the cameras that night. Everything appeared normal. On July 15, after checking out in the morning, all individuals moved their luggage to room 502. At 11:42 a.m., Mr. Dang Hung Van ordered food from the hotel kitchen, including 5 plates of fried rice, 4 plates of tom yum kung, 4 plates of stir-fried vegetables, 1 plate of stir-fried morning glory, 2 pots of hot tea, and 6 cups of tea. About 2 hours later, at 2 p.m., Mr. Tran Din Phu requested an additional plate of fried rice to be delivered to room 502 on time. The server delivered the food to room 502 at 1:51 p.m. and spent about 6 minutes arranging the dishes. According to the server's testimony, when they entered the room, only Mrs. Shireen Chong was present. The server offered to help brew the tea, but Mrs. Shireen Chong declined, saying she would do it herself. The server noticed that Mrs. Shireen Chong's facial expression was unusually tense, and her demeanor appeared uncomfortable. Attempting to ease the tension, the server complimented Mrs. Shireen Chong on her outfit, but she responded only with a worried face and did not smile. Although finding this strange, the server did not ask further questions, fearing it might upset the guest. At 1:57 p.m., the server left the room after finishing the food arrangements for the guests. From 2:03 p.m. onward, the other individuals began entering room 502 one by one. After that, no one exited the room until the victims were discovered dead. Police hypothesized that one of the 6 victims poisoned the other 5 and then committed suicide by drinking cyanide-laced tea. However, to identify the true perpetrator, Thai authorities needed to take statements from more than 10 witnesses, including relatives of the victims. The daughter of the married couple, Mrs. Nguyen Si Phuong, and Mr. Pham Hong Van confirmed that her parents had traveled to Thailand to discuss business with a Vietnamese American. Among the 6 victims, the only 2 Vietnamese Americans were Mrs. Shireen Chong and Mr. Dang Hung Van. Investigating Shireen Chong's background, police discovered that she had previously been accused of defrauding Vietnamese immigrants out of money. These victims had trusted her to help expedite their U.S. citizenship applications. Although this case was later dismissed by U.S. prosecutors, the accusations drew significant interest from Thai authorities. Meanwhile, Mr. Dang Hung Van's records showed no irregularities. Notably, he was also one of Mrs. Shireen Chong's business partners. Through interviews with individuals close to the victims, police discovered that Mrs. Shireen Chong had asked Mrs. Nguyen Thien Phu Phuong Lan to act as a broker. Mrs. Chong convinced Mrs. Nguyen Thi Phuong and her husband to invest a large sum of $278,000 in a hospital construction project in Japan. Mr. Pham Hong Van, Mrs. Phuong's husband, was a road construction contractor in Vietnam and owned substantial assets. However, when the investment failed to yield any progress, Mr. and Mrs. Phuong repeatedly demanded that Mrs. Shireen Chong return their money. Initially, the parties agreed to meet in Japan to resolve the matter, but due to one party's inability to obtain a visa, the meeting location was changed to Thailand. The group immediately agreed to travel to Thailand, as it was a country they frequently visited for tourism or shopping. Notably, during this trip, they also planned to visit Wat Yanawa, a famous temple among Vietnamese travelers in Bangkok. However, tensions appeared to escalate upon their arrival in Thailand, as both parties failed to reach an agreement during negotiations. Mr. and Mrs. Phuong refused to grant Mrs. Shireen Chong additional time to repay the debt and demanded an immediate refund. Overwhelmed by mounting debt and business failure, Mrs. Chong made the deadly decision to commit murder. She secretly purchased cyanide to poison the group of Vietnamese individuals in the hotel room, including unrelated parties, such as the makeup artist. Using careful manipulation, Mrs. Shireen Chong invited all parties involved to her room, citing a meeting to resolve financial issues as the reason. Notably, she personally ordered the food and tea from hotel services and insisted on preparing everything herself, refusing assistance from staff. So how did Mrs. Shireen Chong poison the victims without being detected? According to the investigation, her method was considered highly sophisticated and difficult to uncover. After requesting tea from hotel staff, she carefully laced the tea leaves with cyanide before brewing it. Investigators noted that the tea leaves initially had a light brown color, but upon re-examination, they discovered the leaves had darkened significantly. This indicated a substantial amount of cyanide had been infused into the tea leaves. Furthermore, the only person who received the tea box from the hotel staff was Mrs. Shireen Chong. Hotel staff confirmed that they only delivered a tea box, milk, and 2 thermoses of hot water to room 502 at Mrs. Shireen Chong's request. After serving the group poisoned tea, Mrs. Shireen Chong, knowing she could not escape if caught, her own life in the same manner. However, when her motive and method for poisoning were revealed, many were left pondering numerous questions. How did all 6 victims drink the tea simultaneously, without noticing anything unusual? Moreover, how did the poison act almost instantly, within less than 5 minutes? This raises the question of whether the suspect used some psychological tactic to mask her actions and ensure the victims remained unsuspecting. Some even speculate that Shireen Chong might have been involved with a strange cult and carried out a ritual where everyone would cross to the afterlife together. However, this theory faces skepticism from the public, as Mrs. Shireen Chong's family has not mentioned any connection between her and any cults. This silence, however, has inadvertently fueled further speculation about her possible ties to a mysterious organization. In response to these doubts, many have analyzed the crime scene of this locked room poisoning case in detail. One netizen commented that the crime scene, as disclosed by police, makes it plausible that Mrs. Shireen Chong poisoned the victims. After the other 5 individuals arrived in room 502, she invited everyone to sit at the table to discuss an important matter before the meal. Drinking tea together within a few minutes was a natural and normal activity, which explains why everyone was poisoned at the same time. According to investigators, the time of poisoning might not have been identical for each victim, as one attempted to move toward the door before collapsing. This suggests the toxin took effect at slightly different times for each person, but the high dosage left no one able to survive. Another possibility is that Mrs. Shireen Chong cleverly persuaded everyone to drink the tea without raising any suspicion. She might have invited the group to sit down and drink tea to ease the tense atmosphere before discussing how to resolve the dead issues. To make it more convincing, she likely drank the tea herself in front of everyone, ensuring no one felt suspicious. This explains why the entire group trusted her and did not question her intentions. Among the victims, the most tragic loss may have been that of Tran Dien Phu, the makeup artist. He had no involvement in the disputes between the parties, but, by being present at the wrong time, became a victim of this cruel plan. According to Mr. Phu's family, he traveled to Thailand to do makeup for a client who had invited him earlier. However, they did not know who this client was. The unjust death of Mr. Tran Dien Phu has left many mourning and condemning the cruel actions of Mrs. Shireen Chong. After identifying the perpetrator as Mrs. Shireen Chong, rumors about the case being connected to a transnational criminal organization were also dismissed by police. As this dramatic case comes to a close, the mysteries surrounding the cyanide-related tragedy at the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel have also been unraveled. What are your thoughts on the method used by the Vietnamese American suspect to poison the victims and herself?